All right, everyone, and welcome to the beginning of the Performance Driving Team season of 2022. Today we have a race at Summit Point Speedway out on the East Coast. We have our drivers taking the track right now. Each one of them's trying to get ready, trying to create some pace in their cars before they start out with qualifying here. So we're joining with roughly 12 minutes left to go. We still have quite a bit to talk about as we enter this race. The first things first is that we have qualifying coming up, obviously. That's in 12 minutes. That should go on for roughly 10 minutes or so. Each driver should get 2 flying laps on their own. As we see a few people having fun out there, getting off track a little bit. So then we'll also have a 45-minute race with a pit stop in between. So it should be pretty action-packed. Should see a few mix-ups, and it should be a good race. For those of you not familiar with last season, we had Tyler Daniels ended up winning the championship. I ended up getting second in the championship, me, Jacob Bessemer, for those of you that don't know. And then Chris K, he ended up getting third, just barely. If he was there more weeks, he probably would have easily won. So it's looking like it's going to be a tight battle between Chris K and Tyler, but we also have new faces this week, so we never know what will happen. Then we also have quite a big mid-pack battle. A lot of the people pretty much from 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, kind of around that range. Everybody's very, very tight in the championship standings and in pace, for that matter. So we'll see what happens this year as practice winds down. We'll just enjoy watching a few different people. Let's see what Tyler Daniels is running. Looks like he's chose a Lambo for this season. The big thing with these GT3 cars is each one of these handles a little different, and you're kind of stuck with the same GT3 car all season long. Once you pick it, you have to stick with it, or else you kind of lose your championship opportunities. So we have Tyler going with a Lamborghini. Lamborghini, we'll see, is one of the faster cars, but it's also one of the more unstable cars as well. One of the other cars that shares that characteristic is the Audi, but the Audi seems to be a little more wicked than even the Lamborghini is, the Audi R8 there. So Tyler choosing the Lamborghini is a pretty bold choice, but it should pay off for him for quite a few rounds. So you can see the car right in front of him, Nathan here. He chose the BMW. This was the car to beat last year. It had quite a bit of drive off the corners. It's a front engine, so it doesn't handle crazy like a mid-engine would. It's a very predictable car. It's a pretty easy car to drive. Just got to manage understeer, and that's about it. So as we go down the line a little bit, we can look at Henry here, whose real name is James Farquhar, but he goes by Henry. He's chosen a Lamborghini as well, kind of a bold choice. And we have Rich right behind him as well. He chose an Audi. He chose that last season, so he should know the car pretty well. We also have Davis Day here. He chose the Audi R8 as well. Pretty bold choice by him. It should have some pretty good speed, so we'll see how it works out for him. Next we have Marcos. He's chosen the BMW. Pretty wise choice, I think. I think he should be pretty competitive in this car throughout the season, so we'll see what happens with him. And then Jason. Jason has chosen the Ferrari for this year. So the Ferrari's kind of a good all-around choice. It doesn't maybe handle the best. Like, it could still get out of shape somewhat like the Lamborghini and Audi can, but it's not as wicked. It's a pretty good handling car. It does everything pretty well. The brakes on it seem to be good. The acceleration maybe not so much. Top speed is pretty average. Sometimes it can really stretch its legs over some of the other competitors, but it's a good car overall. Next we have Matt Watts. He's chosen the Ferrari as well, as somebody goes sliding off in the background. I think that was Brenton Stoner here. So Stoner is one of our usuals. He was having a hard time earlier in practice this week. He ended up on his lid. He showed everybody on the local Discord. As we were talking about Matt Watts here before we saw Stoner flying off, he chose the Ferrari as well, which I think should be a good choice for him. But Stoner himself, he chose the McLaren. So the McLaren's kind of a unique car. It's kind of been on the surface a little while. Its handling characteristics are somewhat like the Lambo and Audi. It doesn't quite have as much upside, but at the same time, too, it does have its own strengths that come at certain tracks and really show themselves. Next, we'll look at Ben. Ben Beacock, he's a guy I raced with for the 24 hours just recently. He's chosen the Porsche. This is a great car because it's kind of another good all-arounder, but it also has some pretty good speed. I'd have to say it's nearly up there with the Lambo and the Audi for pace, but it's also not as wicked. But it handles pretty well. The only thing that you got to keep in mind with is you got to watch the brake bias as the tires start to wear. If you get too much rear tire wear, it can have a tendency to spin out as the tire wear becomes pretty uneven. It becomes pretty hard to handle. So next one of the drivers that we have is Andrew. He's been around for quite a while. He's a good little consistent racer. He kind of stays around the mid-pack, but he is definitely in the learning process of learning iRacing. He's been doing a good job, showing up, putting in laps, and just being very consistent. And that's all you can ask for from some of these people in the mid-pack. You just want consistency. And he's shown that he has the opportunity to do that from time to time. And next we have Adam. Adam is actually the admin of this whole league. He kind of sets it up, and he does a lot of great work for everybody involved. He did the McLaren last year. He's very familiar with it now, and so he's getting some good lap times in now with this McLaren. So he should be one to watch at a few different circuits. The McLaren maybe isn't perfectly suited for this racetrack, but hopefully he can still get like a top 5 out of sheer consistency with it. And then we also have Ron Morris. He's chosen the Ferrari, as I mentioned earlier. A good all-around vehicle. You can see the rear just stepping out just ever so slightly on it. So he's looking to have a good run this season. He's kind of another one battling in the mid-pack. Then we have Rich. Rich has chosen the Mercedes, sorry. And this Merc is pretty well balanced. I'd say it's kind of like the BMW. It just has some weird quirks every now and then. Maybe it's not quite as fast. Maybe it is as fast. It just depends on the circuit. But it's a pretty good little vehicle. And then we have Matt Bush. He's chosen the Porsche. He's kind of has the default livery. He made a pretty good choice with this one, I think. I think he'll be pretty happy with it. He's also had some success in the mid-pack. Then lastly we go to Chris K. Chris K, he is not on track at the moment, but he does have the fastest lap. So we'll see how he turns later in qualifying once that gets going. So now that we kind of went through the field and everybody that's joined so far, we also have Chris Heinzen. He's kind of a sneaked on last second. He has driven with us in the past, but we haven't actually seen him for a season or two. So I'm curious to see how his skills have developed in the meantime, since he hasn't been racing with us lately. But he was a good little racer in his own regard, very gritty, and he'll definitely get his elbows out, but he's good in his own right, that's for sure. And he'll be fighting up front from time to time as well. So you can see him and Adam kind of battling right now. Daniel Robinson is one that I missed here. I had it on him for a second, and I couldn't find his first name, and I didn't want to assume anything. So Daniel Robinson as well has picked the Ferrari. He kind of has a classic paint scheme here for Ferrari. Got that Ferrari red with the banner over top. It's looking real good. We'll see what he can do this season. But let's go back and see Chris Heinzen and Adam here battling. As it's just practice, it's nothing too crazy right now. Just got everybody trying to get their rhythm, trying to get ready for the race later this afternoon. We still have people also coming in little by little as well. So we hear Chris Heinzen, he's sliding around back there. He kind of went off track. That's all right. Just learning. I'm sure he hasn't done iRacing in a while, so it's no big deal if you're just in the learning phases and still getting used to each vehicle. It looks like we have Matt Bruce behind Adam here. Matt is another one that's ran the McLaren in recent seasons. He has that awesome McLaren livery on it from the Monaco F1 race this past year. I think it's one of my personal favorites. It's just a good looking car all around. Ooh, as he actually goes for a spin there and as he crashed into the wall. I think what happens there is you just get a little bit in the dirt and it just goes around on you. So unfortunate for Matt, but luckily for him, it's just practice. It's no big deal. So he'll keep going out of the pits and he'll try again. And we have another new face to the league. This is Taylor Stein. He is, or Steen as it may be. I'm not sure which. But he is new to this league. I don't really know much about him. He may be pretty darn fast, so we'll have to see what comes of it later in the season and in the race. We'll see how he can qualify. I'm not sure how well practiced up he is in these GT3s. So hopefully he can get out there, make some good laps, get some good practice in, and really qualify up front. And again, we look at Chris K. He picked the BMW. That's the one that he's running with, and that is it's a pretty darn fast car. You can look at the lap times with him and Tyler right now are neck and neck, and we kind of expect that's how the race is going to go, to be honest. Tyler and Chris have kind of just pulled out in another zip code lately, so we'll really see if anybody can reel them in. But this is definitely a good-looking BMW, and it's definitely a fast BMW, that's for sure. As we're coming down to the final minute here. Hopefully everybody's joined if they had the chance. Pretty much if you haven't joined, you're kind of SOL, as they would say, because pretty much once qualifying starts and once qualifying ends, you pretty much need to be in the session or else you will not be able to start the race, even from the pits or anything along those lines. We can see Henry has pulled in the third fastest lap time, so he's doing pretty good for himself in this Lambo. This Lambo has some good speed in it, as does Rich right behind him. We talked about this Audi is pretty fast. And we have Andrew rounding out behind him, Jason, Ron, Nathan, Rich, and Davis. So we've got a full field of 20 vehicles. This is around like the average that we had last year, so we may see a little more trickle in throughout the season as well. A lot of us, because we all work at the same location, we have work that sometimes gets in the way. So we'll see what happens as we get into qualifying. As mentioned earlier, this session can take 10 minutes or so. It doesn't look like we'll be able to watch anybody because of how the session is set up. So we'll have to see how they do as they come across the line little by little. So we'll have to give them a minute or two, and then we'll see how the lineup sets. Now would be the time if you want to take a quick break. We should be back in a little bit. So give yourself about 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then the lap times will start trickling in. All right, as the lap times start trickling in, we have Ron Morris with a 108.54. That's actually a pretty darn fast lap for Ron. That's about a half second off what the fast guys were running, maybe a little closer than that. So that's actually a great start. As we start to see some more times trickling in, Nathan with shortly behind him, pretty close to a 109. Taylor a little farther behind, a 109 and a half. So you can see this time start to trickle in here little by little. If we look at like this track map down here, I'll actually move it around so people can see it a little better. Oops. So we have the track map down here. And you can see this long straightaway on the bottom. It goes from right to left. And that's kind of your start-finish straight. And then you come down into turn one, and turn one is a pretty darn sharp corner. We're going to see some contact, I feel like, coming in after the green. And as they wash out, they kind of go into this gliding corner as it opens up. And then it kind of eases and goes into a sharp, I guess it's not too sharp. It's a fairly quick left-hander. It uses a lot of downforce. There you will see cars that have some good aero to them. They will really excel in that left-hander. And then from there, you got a little kink to the right as you come up into almost what looks like a hairpin into a big braking zone, and it comes into the very tightest part of the track, which you see in the upper portion. That first left-hander there, almost hairpin-like, that leads into a right-hander that's almost like a hairpin. Those two are the slowest corners on the whole track, and they're back-to-back. So it's really just about getting a rhythm there. It's not about trying to get a lot of speed. You're just trying to make sure that you're maximizing your grip and making sure that you can get around it pretty quickly. And then once you're through there, it starts flowing pretty well. There's maybe a few lift points as the tires start to wear as you go through these next 2 or 3 corners. But really, what you're looking for is that last corner coming onto the main straightaway again, where you will be getting a little bit of brake. You may be downshifting once, maybe twice, and you'll be coming back around to the front straightaway. So if we look back to the times so far, we have Tyler up top, and then we have Chris K in second. This is kind of what we expected, but at the same time, it's a little tighter up top than we would have thought. Andrew's not too far back, and neither is Ron. So these guys could really have a chance. The one that we're a little surprised to see is Henry. He's down in 8th. He's down with Adam and Rich. Even Rich had a better practice session than he did a qualifying session so far. But we still have 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. So we got a little bit left. We'll have to see how it goes as the times keep trickling in. One to watch that we didn't really talk about too much in practice is Brandon Wilson. Brandon really has quite a bit of experience in real life, and he can really put some of these races together if he keeps it clean every now and then. He may not have raw qualifying pace, but we all know that he's capable of really fast times every now and then, and he'll pull them out of nowhere. And we also have Josh Campbell. He's a little late joining the session, but he's another one that can really put together some good sessions. He has some speed. He just needs to be able to tie everything together, and he can get some good finishes up in the top. So with that, we see a little more trickling in. We have Matt Bruce down into the teens. He's another one to watch. He has some pretty good speed at a lot of these tracks, but for whatever reason, the McLaren's just not working for a lot of these guys today. Adam seems to be the front-running McLaren, so we'll see how it goes on the start. We also have newcomer Taylor, who's at 15th. So he's looking at the majority of the pack is in front of him. But he still has a few behind him as well. So it looks like Tyler did improve on his last lap. He's now has a 108.07, which is a pretty darn fast lap. That's about as fast as we saw them do it in practice earlier. Chris wasn't quite able to back up what he did in practice. He's a few tenths off, but that shouldn't really matter as the race goes on. So now you can start to see the gap widening a little bit between 1 and 2 and the rest of the field. But if you look back 4th through 10th, you're almost at a half second between all of them. And that's a pretty dense gap. That's where we'll see a lot of our battles today. We'll see a lot of battles even in that 10th through 15th time frame. You'll see a lot of people bunched in there. So we even have Josh, who's not too far back. He's got a second to make up, Josh Campbell. And then we also have Matt Watts, Stoner, Chris Heinzen bringing up the rear. And we'll see how those guys do as well. Like I said, this is the beginning of the season, so a lot of these guys will improve. They haven't been on the simulator in a while. So this isn't any indication of what the pace that we'll see throughout the season. Sometimes people have tracks that suit them better, and sometimes tracks suit them worse. I know for me, for instance, this track doesn't suit me as well as some of the others. For whatever reason, you just get some tracks that don't really work for you, and this is one of them for me. As we can see in the countdown here, we only have about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. So I think we're pretty much waiting for the session to advance at this point. I think all of our heavy hitters have taken a lap. I think we now have 21 people that have qualified. So somebody was waiting for the last minute. I don't see anything drastically different in the results as I'm looking down through the timesheet. Yeah, it looks like Marcos has taken a lap and is 2 seconds off the pole time. I think he may be the new addition, down in 18th position. So we got 1 minute left of the session. We'll see if Marcos can improve his lap. He might be able to. I'm not sure if he'll have enough time, depending on when he completed his lap. So we'll see if he gets back around and changes that before this timer counts down. As we have just 15 seconds left, this should mark the end of our qualifying session. So the grid that you see should be pretty official by now. Like I said, we may see Marcos jump up, but I believe that may be the only person that may move up at all. So now as we come 3, 2, 1, and the session is done. I think we may have had a few people that didn't qualify either, so we may see them in the back of the pack. So now we already have people lining up for the grid. One thing that's convenient about lining up for the grid pretty early is that you can set up your tires and your fuel calculations and really get everything in order before you get going. So look at Chris in a few different views here. We got the chopper cam, we got the blimp cam. Got a lot of people behind him just rearing and ready to go. Got Ron Morris not too far behind. Looking back at some of the Audis in the field. The tension starts to rise in this moment. We got 1 minute left until the grid goes. As you can see, everybody's ready. We got Tyler Daniels on the front row. We got Chris K, number 2. We got Andrew with 3rd, which is a great qualifying effort from him. Ron Morris 4th. Jason 5th. Davis 6th. Nathan 7th. Henry 8th. And we got Adam 9th. We got Rich rounding out the top 10. We also got Brandon Wilson 11th. Rich Y in 12th. Ben and Matt Bruce behind them. You can see everybody's just waiting for this standing start to be able to go. We got Taylor and Matt Bush behind them. Josh Campbell. Then we also got Marcos, Matt Watts, and then Stoner. And Chris Heinzen's bringing up the rear. Okay, they're ready to go green any moment now. We should see movement. We're looking from Ron's point of view. Both the leaders got a decent start as they come off the line. We got some chaos a little farther back. We got an Audi off track. We pretty much got Tyler and Chris going side by side. Ooh, we got contact in the back. I saw Matt Bruce going around. I see Stoner going around. I see lots of contact. We got guys just trying to figure it out. We got Andrew taking 3rd over Ron, but Ron's going to kind of contest this as we go into the fast sweeper. We got Henry right behind them and Jason contesting that as they all kind of get single file. Oh, Ron goes off. We got people going off left and right. Jason's off. So Andrew takes that position. Henry takes that position away from Jason as they file through into the slowest part of the track. We just need people to settle down. Everybody's got cold tires, so trying to make it around the track. A little farther back, we got Rich, who's already in the pit lane. He didn't have a very good start. Seeing Ben a little farther back, he's in mid-pack. Everybody's kind of sorting it out back here. And then up front, we have Tyler Daniels, who's just barely leading over Chris as they come through the front stretch for the first lap. Looks like we're going to have some battles back behind. Looks like Davis is thinking about making a move on Jason, but maybe not. Looks like Adam had some early trouble. He's back in the pack. Ooh, see Davis sliding around there on exit. These cars still have very cold tires, and we got Ben, who made up quite a few positions. He's now 8th. Got a few off tracks here, but that's all right. It's part of the course here. You kind of dip a tire every now and then when you're just pushing the limits. We still have Chris just hounding Tyler, and then we have Andrew not too far back. Andrew's kind of putting pressure on these front guys, which is pretty impressive for Andrew. He's doing a great job. He just needs to keep it clean for the rest of the race and get a really good finish out of this. Maybe even with some pit strategy, can he mix it up with the top two a little bit? Right behind them, we got Ron, who's just trying to keep touch, but he's losing it just a little bit. And right behind him, we have Henry, who looks like he has just a touch of damage from the beginning. Or maybe that was just the view. Yeah, I think that's just the view. I think Henry's all right. I don't think he has any damage. And then Jason's not too far behind. Everybody's starting to spread out a little bit now. We see back farther in the pack. Got some side-by-side action. And Daniel Robinson making a move there. Looks like he made a move on, I believe that was Marcos. Kind of farther back in the pack. We got a few guys just trying to make it around here. We got Nathan. He's kind of bringing up the rear, or along with Rich. W, it looks like they had to pit for damage. Looks like they may have had to use one of their fast repairs. So then up front, we still got Tyler, and then followed by Chris. These two should probably be staying in this position for a lot of the race. They may not get too racy because Andrew isn't too far behind. They don't really have the opportunity to get racy. Looks like Jason may have had a problem. Jason Gatos? Oh, no, never mind. I apologize. That was just a timing glitch. Looks like he's still on track, but he's a little farther back than he was before. He's now 25 seconds back off the leader. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened. We just got in the dirt there and kind of just spun out a little bit. It's unfortunate for Jason, but he's now back in the fight. He'll try and make up some positions. We know he has the speed. He can get back up there. So as we check back in the lead here, you see the Tyler still same sort of gap. Chris just keeping in that draft range. Andrew's just hanging on to draft range. Chris K in front. Looks like Ron is just about outside of draft range, so he won't be able to keep up. He needs those guys to make small mistakes to just keep inside that draft. It really comes in handy on these last few corners. This partial straightaway that Ron's on right now where the bridge goes under, you can get a good draft there. And then coming into the last corner here, goes one downshift, hits the brakes, gets a little out there. Oh, Ron, oh, he kept it. But as a result, Henry's going to go by, and the draft is lost of those in front. That's not good news for Ron. Let's hope he can recover, kind of get a good finish out of this. I think he can just put some pressure on Henry and try and keep the train moving from there. Looks like Daniel Robinson had a problem. It looks like he's in the pit lane. Yup. I wonder what happened to him. Oh, he lost it on the last corner. Oh, bad news for Daniel Robinson. Let's look at Ron Morris. What happened up front here? Let's see if it's just a timing glitch. It looks like it's just a timing glitch. So let's try and go back to Tyler Daniels. See how he's doing. We got Chris K behind him. And Andrew. Andrew's kind of fallen back a little bit. He's lost a little bit of touch with the guys up front as they come through the winding section here. We got quite the spread out field right now. Everybody's kind of sticking away from each other. Got a few people ducking into the pits. Got Chris Heinzen coming into the pits. That's what it looks like. Oh, I'm sorry. He just went around. Let's watch this again. Sorry about that. He spun just in that last corner there. Probably a little bit too much rear brake, but it looks like he's back going. Let's get back at the battle at the front, because that looks to be still the best battle on the track right now as we look at the track map and see where everybody's at. As they come down through kind of that tight, twisty last section as you're just accelerating, as they power through that second to last corner. Kind of go under the bridge, last little kink. And then this corner's only one downshift, trying to keep it as far out wide as you can. It's a good line there by Tyler and by Chris. Andrew's just starting to lose touch. You can tell he's pushing pretty hard, trying to keep touch with these guys, but he's just losing it just that little bit. As we look back farther in the pack, we see that Marcos is getting under a little bit of pressure by Brandon Wilson here. Brandon, this is the first time we've seen his car all day. He didn't. I don't think we saw him at all in practice. So he's trying to make up a lot of time here. Looks like his car is fairly clean, so he should be able to do it as long as his pace is still there in the car. If we look back on Tyler, these guys are about to start hitting lap traffic actually here. We got a few people just up in front that may be a little bit of a hindrance to him. We got Stoner. Stoner's usually pretty courteous, so we'll see what happens when the leaders come across them. And we also got Matt Bruce here. He's fighting with our newcomer Taylor here. They may be either just helping each other, or let's see if Matt goes for a move. Yeah, he's going for it. Going down into turn one, diving in there, taking the position, and he has the position. So these guys are still battling, even though they're 19th, pretty far back. They're still fighting. So look up ahead with Tyler. He's just coming across Stoner now, kind of coming across him at a bad area of the track. There's no passing really here. We'll see what happens. Stoner kind of runs wide. Hopefully he doesn't come back on the track. Yeah, he did a good job controlling it there. Good job by Stoner, keeping it under control as the leaders go by. Next up will be Andrew looking to get by. Let's see how he does with Stoner here. Andrew's just kind of losing touch. We can see in the last few laps his gap has just come a little bit farther up than what we thought he could do. Kind of just lost that draft, and once you lose that draft, you're kind of out on your own. We still have Ron trying to keep up with Henry right in front of him. It looks like Henry's got pretty good pace today on the long run. Right behind that, we got a little bit of lap traffic. We're just kind of in that phase of the race, though, where everybody just needs to settle down. They need to just make good passes. And, ooh, we got Stoner off the track again. He's having a rough time at this track. It may even be the car a little bit as well, but either way, he's having a rough time. And we got Daniel just kind of just holding up Davis a little bit more than Davis would like. He kind of shows him the flash, just lets him know that, hey, I'm a little unhappy that you're holding me up here. I got to get going. This is still a long race. We've still got 35 minutes left. It's crazy to think at how long these races really are. Now a little farther back in the pack, we got Matt Watts here. Looks like he's kept a pretty clean car as he's got Rich right behind him. These two are keeping close tabs on each other. We also got Jason a little farther back, still battling with Marcos. That battle has still been going on for quite a while. Ooh, it looks like... Looks like Daniel got pushed off the track maybe a little here. Let's see what happened. Ooh, as we got some contact farther back in the pack, somebody goes for a wild ride. So I think that was Matt Watts, I believe. Maybe Matt Bush. I'm not quite sure which. I think that was Matt Bush, actually. Yeah, he's in 9th place. That was quite a wild ride for him. It all happened right in front of him. It was crazy. So let's see where he is now. He's kind of settled back in. So we got Brandon Wilson hounding him. Brandon Wilson has been making up a lot of time, just kind of charging through the pack here. So we'll bring up the track map, kind of see where everybody's at. Let's go back to Tyler and see what Tyler's doing up in the front. Still that same gap. We got Chris K right behind him. That just keeps that gap going. I don't know if he's waiting to make a move until the end or if this is all the pace that he has and Tyler's dragging him around the track. It's just really hard to tell until we get to the final last few minutes when it's really go time. It's actually falling back a good amount here. I don't know if he's saving fuel or what Chris is doing. It seems like he gathers it back up. It may just be your timing kind of has an accordion effect to it more than anything else. They're about to get to more traffic here too. Because we have Daniel who's also in traffic. He's kind of holding up Ben just a little bit now. This isn't where Ben wants to catch him. This is a tough part of the track to get around some lap traffic. So Ben will have a hard time getting around him. We'll look at it from Ben's point of view here as his Porsche is just coming down on Daniel. Kind of has to give some lifts. You can hear the tires are starting to wear here. It's not flat out anymore. He lost a little bit of time in that section as well. He really needs to catch back up to him so he can make a move down the front straight. So we'll look back up front. Looks like our leaders are about to get back into lap traffic again as Chris has brought down that gap. Looks like he's right there. We had Taylor coming up who's had a little bit of a bad race so far. I don't think it's been any fault of his own. He's been caught up in that early chaos, but he's about to be lapped. Taylor's just kind of running. I can't tell if he's going out wide. I think he's letting the leaders go, I think is what he's really trying to do. Yep, lets both the leaders go. That was a kind move of him. Looks like Chris got held up just the smallest little bit, but he'll still be in draft range here. He'll hold on for a lap or two. But let's take a ride and see what it looks like from Tyler's point of view for one lap here. As I mentioned in qualifying, here's the start-finish line, this long front straight. This is probably the best passing opportunity you have on the track. And hard braking into this turn one. Shifting all the way down into first, kind of getting that car rotated around and back on the gas. Pretty much flat out here until we come to this fast left-hand sweeper. Looks like he gives just a little bit of a brake and a downshift just to get the car rotated. Comes around nicely, doesn't get in the grass at all or anything, just nice and consistent. Then we have this bend here, which is a little lift, and then hard braking into this slow section. As he comes around here, see the lap car just a little off their line in front of him. Hopefully that doesn't slow Tyler up too much. It's pretty much babying the throttle up until this point. Lifts everywhere. Just trying to get that little bit of rotation to go around these corners. This last corner brake, downshift. Just let the car sit, let the aero do its job as we had a car off there. Looks like the number 22 was Chris Heinzen. He's having quite the troubles this race. The poor guy is just back to iRacing, and it's not treating him very well. This Tyler comes right up in the back of this Ferrari. Just really wants to get by. Tyler was hoping to get by before that corner, but he just quite couldn't. Ooh, as that Ferrari goes wide. Looks like that was Saeed. He's a newcomer to this group. He's having quite the hard time, but he's up in 16th. That's not too bad for his first race in our group. We'll see if he can do better as the races progress and he gets a little more comfortable. So we go back to the leaders here. Kind of getting strung out here. One of the closest battles on the track, though, is Brandon Wilson, who's coming up to Rich Y. We have two Riches, Rich W and Rich Y. Rich Youts and Rich Warden. As you can see, Brandon's just trying to be patient here. He's not putting on a ton of pressure, but he knows he's got the pace to move up the pack. Got some people diving for pit road here. As we did mention, people do have to make pit stops, and we'll see the leaders making pit stops here soon. I believe they can go to about 15 minutes left. So we've got Rich Youts taking a little bit of a defensive line here. I don't know if he's trying to get around Stoner. Brandon Wilson kind of packs it on the outside, but can't get the over-under. Ooh, as it looks like we had a crash behind. Let's see what happened. Ooh, Adam! Oh no! Into the side of Matt Bush. The poor guy's trying to get going again. That was quite the tussle. It was tough to say what happened there. Ooh, Matt's still having a hard time getting going. He may have had damage on that side of the vehicle, and he's back to the pits, the poor guy. So a little bit of action still going on. So we see Josh over here. He's trying to get by, I believe, what is lap traffic here. Yes. It should be a pretty straightforward pass on Daniel. He's got the run. Crowding him just a little bit. Ooh, Daniel didn't want to give the position up either. Daniel dove deep. I gotta give him credit. He's still fighting hard. As we said earlier, we're getting a little spread out here. We got a few people that are just not near anybody else on track. So we look at Davis here. We have quite a few cars in pit road. I don't know if that's for repairs. So we got Matt Bush still in pit road. I think he was towing. I think Adam was fixing the repairs from that last incident. We're looking at Stoner here. He's had quite the rough time in this race. He's bringing up the rear with 3 laps down. So apologies for the display. It says a few people are out, but I believe it's just out of range for the cars on track. So we look back at Ron. Ron's had a pretty steady race. He's only 11 seconds off the lead at the moment, which isn't too bad. We're just kind of holding pace. Still keeping in touch with Henry up there, just barely. It looks like the timing has actually caught up. My apologies. I don't think it was 11 seconds. It looks like it's closer to 15 now. So it looks like we got a courteous wave around from lap traffic around Ron. We'll look at Chris Heinzen as he's going around here. He's got that awesome gummy bear livery. I do love me some gummy bears. It's kind of making me want a little bit of sugar at the moment. We got Nathan, who's trying in a new car with this BMW. Sitting back in 18th. He's not doing too much at the moment. I think he's had a little bit of trouble throughout this race. It looks like Tyler's actually pulled away from Chris a little bit. It's hard to say when this has happened in the last few laps, but he definitely has pulled away. Looks like that's maybe Davis in front of them. I think that was Davis. Yep, that was Davis off the track. Chris is just losing the tail end of it. He's got to keep with him. Chris has really got to push these next few laps to make sure he keeps in draft range. If Tyler kind of pulls away anymore, it may be really tough to recover from that. Look at our new member, Saeed. He's having a little bit of a rough time, as we mentioned earlier. But he's still ahead of some of our regulars, so it's still not too bad. It's something to be proud of. Let's go on board with Ben here. Ben's coming through this last few corner complex. He's got quite the lap traffic in front of him. He's got a lot of lap cars. Let's look a little bit farther up the road here with Ron. Ron's about to catch this big gaggle of cars here. Looks like we had Saeed go off track. We also had Davis. I think this was the earlier crash from Davis. He seemed to be back on track now, and he's actually battling with Adam. This is a good little battle here. Got Chris Heinzen right in front. I believe he's lap traffic to Adam and Davis. So kind of getting held up just a little bit, getting that dirty air. It's going to make it tough. Looks like Adam got really loose. Oh, and Davis goes by on the inside. This next corner. Just barely caught it there, Adam. That was close. Ooh, even Davis himself is having a little bit of traction issues. You could hear that. He tried to get on throttle there. The rear tires just weren't cooperating with him. It's kind of the nature, though, of the Audi. So let's check back in out front. We got Tyler just pulling away just a little more from Chris. It's just starting to become not a battle anymore between these two. Chris is just barely losing touch as the tires begin to age. So it looks like Tyler's starting to get a little more comfortable out in the lead. And we can't say enough about Andrew's race right now. Andrew's just running a solid, consistent race. He may have to pit here soon. So we'll see the order shuffle up a little bit. I think that may be why Henry is back in 7th. Henry may have had an issue, or he may have had something else go wrong for him. But we also have Brandon Wilson, who's still in this battle with Jason, and they have Henry right in front. These guys are still battling out for position. This has been going on the whole time. This is one of the best battles on the track right now. It's tough because we also have another battle going on with Josh and Benjamin up here. We have these guys who have just slowly eked away a little bit from everybody. But let's go back to Brandon. Let's see how this battle's shaping up. Because this is all for position here. Brandon taking all the track that he can on exit. He's still in that draft range. It looks like Henry's kind of towing these guys along at the moment. Looks like Brandon's just slowly losing touch. I feel like this battle just kind of accordions. Sometimes it gets a little spread out, sometimes it comes back together. But we'll keep an eye on it and see how these guys get going. ahead we have Ron Morris here. He's coming across heavy lap traffic. Hopefully he can get disposed of these guys here pretty quickly. Looks like Davis is a little slow on top end speed. Either that or he's letting him go, which is nice. Nice to see for Ron. Ron is solidly in 4th. It's tough to say if he's battling with Henry with pit strategy or not, or if Henry made a mistake from earlier. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how it all shakes out after Ron makes a pit stop. Ooh, so we got somebody going off. It looks like Adam up in front. Looks like he didn't hurt Ron at all, but man, Adam is having a tough time with that McLaren. He's really struggling as the tires begin to wear. Looks like he held up Davis a little bit there coming back on the track. Now Ron has to get by Chris Heinzen. Chris seems to be getting better as the laps go on. He had a rough start, but I think he really just needed some laps under his belt, and he's starting to really take hold of this race. Ron made up some good time. It looks like Chris gave him the inside, though it's not a great place to give the inside. Let's see what happens as they go down the front straight. The old Gummy Bear car and the Wrangler car going side by side. It looks like Chris backs out wisely and gives the position to Ron. That's not his battle. Then behind we have Ben. Ben is slowly creeping into the picture for Ron here. He has just charged his way up to the front, much like Brandon Wilson has. Both these guys have just made their way slowly and steadily up to the front, as is Josh Campbell as well. He just slowly made his way up to the front, just avoided all these major issues and just kind of kept it on track. It's kind of the name of the game in this series. We got a lot of different variety of skill levels, so it's really important to just make sure you keep it clean. So we see Jason here. It looks like he's coming into the pits. I think this might have been a planned scheduled stop. His car looks pretty clean. As he blends back out, he'll try and start pushing. He's got a really fast Andrew pulling up next to him. Let's check back front. This battle with Tyler and Chris. I think this gap is kind of stabilized between these two now. I think Chris has found a little bit of a rhythm after losing the draft earlier on. He's still just losing slowly, but maybe he can make it back up through pit stops or some other strategy. If he can time the lap traffic right when he pits, it may actually be to his advantage, even though the track in front of them looks pretty darn clear. A lot of the lap traffic's actually behind them, behind the two leaders here. So we see Tyler coming into the pits. Looks like he's had to come one lap earlier than Chris. Let's see if anybody joins in behind him on the lead lap. So we have Andrew coming by the line here. It looks like Andrew might be diving into the pits. Yep, Andrew is into the pits. So we have two of our top three coming in this lap. We have Chris running around trying to do a good lap around, try and see if he can gain anything. Ron did not pit this lap. He kept going for another time around. Ben did not pit this lap. Tyler's now going to come out right in front of Chris Heinzen, and he's going to get in front of Ben, or is Ben going to get in front of him? Ben gets in front. This is heavy lap traffic for Tyler coming out here. This is not what he wanted to see. Looks like Ben was having a little bit of trouble with a lap car up in front. So this could be the lead of the race right here, depending on how much Tyler gets held up. Meanwhile, Chris is coming around out of the last few corners. He may have to pit this lap, he may not. We have Stoner out wide there, but it doesn't look like he affected anything. It just looks like Tyler's in such heavy traffic. Oh, it's so tough. These moments are so tough because you got to be aggressive, but you also got to keep your car intact. You can't come for another pit stop this late now. You can't use a fast repair. So we can see Ron up front. Ron actually has a very clean track compared to these guys. It's just Chris Heinzen's cork in the bottle right now. So it looks like Chris K is in the pits. Let's see if he comes out in front or behind. We're watching Tyler on board here. There's Chris K as he just comes out. Oh, he's going to be just behind Tyler. Looks like Davis is going to get by too. Davis's lap traffic in between this two-car battle. Tyler's showing the lights. He just wants to get around. Adam wisely gets out of the way. Looks like Ben now is actually free to go. Ben actually has the lead out of these guys. The Porsche may have been making pretty good fuel mileage. Either that or Ben's been saving good amounts of fuel. This Tyler is now hot on his tail. This is a battle for position, but I believe these guys are off cycle from each other, so it's not really that big of a battle. Ooh, Ben's really sliding all over the place. That Porsche, as we talked about earlier, as the rear tires begin to wear, becomes quite the handful. Just slow and steady as they come through the S's onto the back straight. Looks like Ben may be pitting this lap. He is. Yep, Ben's diving to the pit lane. So this will now cycle Tyler back out front. He's got Chris K pretty far behind now. Chris K has got kind of stuck behind Chris H. He kind of made a dive there. He kind of had to make that move to stay in touch. So we got Matt Watts here. He's kind of in the middle of the battle. He's actually been having a really good race in 12th. He's kind of just been keeping it clean. His car looks pretty clean. He's just kind of just outside that top 10. Meanwhile, it looks like Brandon Wilson has got by Jason. Looks like that battle has now just kind of switched roles. As we kind of move back. Let's go back to Brandon Wilson here. Looks like he's kind of going through traffic. I don't see Jason anywhere behind him, really. Looks like that battle's pretty well fizzled out. Checking some of the rest of our top 10. We got Josh Campbell here. Looks like he's right on the tail of Ben. Ben didn't need this. He was under pressure by Tyler coming into the pits, and now he's under pressure by Josh coming out of the pits. This is really going to hurt his tire wear here. He really just needs to kind of keep it steady. He still needs those tires for another 12 minutes of this race. Oh, Josh kind of just barely gets the inside. They're now side by side through an area. Looks like Ben wisely just kind of backs out of it. Notices that Josh has the speed and lets him go. So Ben will live to fight her another day, but Josh takes sixth position. Sorry. He's got quite a ways to go up the road before Ron Morris. Ron has kind of been having a slow and steady race here. And Andrew up in front. Then it looks like Henry did jump these guys because of pit strategy. Maybe he had to pit early because of damage. I'm not sure, but he is now in front of Andrew. So he's had some pretty good pace. So you can see the track map. He's a little bit away from everybody else. He's kind of in no man's land. He's got to keep focused and stay with his race. He's only got 11 minutes left to go, or roughly 11 laps. So let's check back in on the front. Looks like Tyler is cleared some lap traffic, and Chris has 2. The gap is pretty much 3 seconds, which is quite a big gap. So we'll see what these guys can do. Let's look a little farther back in the pack here. Got Jason. Got Marcos right in front of him. I believe Marcos is lap traffic. A little bit behind them, we got Davis and Adam, who are still battling. These two have been so close to each other this whole race. It seems like Adam maybe has a touch more pace, but he just makes mistakes and just can't stay in front of him. Ooh, Davis, he way out of shape there. This may give Adam a run. Let's go back on board with Adam. He does have a run coming into this right-hander, this last corner. This isn't necessarily a good passing zone if somebody contests it on the outside, but it looks like Davis backs out and wisely just gives it to Adam. Now hopefully these two can just settle down and make a run to the people in front of them. Still side by side though. Davis looks like he came back. Adam gave him the lane, but it looks like Davis just broke a little earlier. Backed out of it. as that battle still continues. Let's move on to see what Brandon Wilson's up to. I thought I saw on the track map that he was by somebody else, but it doesn't look to be true. Looks like he's got Matt Bruce farther up the road. He's got a whole straightaway on him. Bruce has had a pretty chaotic start, but it looks like he's kind of maybe did a short pit there at the beginning. May have ran as long as he could and then pitted. We'll see if he has enough fuel to the end, if Matt Bruce can stick with this 8th position. He's still got a long way to go to Ben. Ben's way up the road, so let's switch to Ben. Yeah, Ben's a good quarter of a lap ahead. He still hasn't let Josh too far out of his sights, but they still have quite a ways left to go. One mistake could bring Ben right back into it. Ron Morris is a little farther up the road. Looks like Josh is just slowly maybe running Ron down, but Ron's just got to stay consistent, and he won't make it there in time. It's the mistakes that really make somebody catch up to you. It looks like Ron maybe slowly catching Andrew. Either that or the gap's pretty stabilized between these two. Not a lot of action between these top guys. See, Andrew can see Henry in front of him. Just can't reach out and get him. Check back into the top 2. But it looks like Matt Bruce did have to pit after all. So he's just now freshly lapped down. And then there's Rich Youts right behind him. That is 4th position. So it looks like Matt Bruce is still able to hold him off. Rich kind of got a bad run out of that last corner, so now the battle is pretty much stabilized. It's spread out a little bit. Looks like Ben here just got past some heavy lap traffic. It's lucky that they're all behind him. So we look back at the battle up in front. Still got Tyler in this 4-screen teal color, followed by Chris K right behind him in the BMW. These two are almost just keeping the same gap now for almost like the last half hour of this race. It's just kind of always stayed right at this gap. There's nobody making massive headway or improvements on each other. So we look into Josh. He's got some pressure right behind him still. Ben still hasn't let him go. Ben's still pretty close. Look a little farther back. Stoner's still holding on to his car. It's nice to see him still running out there. He hasn't used all of his fast repairs, and he's still out there with a clean car. That's what we like to see. Looks like Tyler got by some lap traffic here. Chris then will have to get by that same lap traffic. Looks like we got Saeed and Davis. I don't believe these two are on the same lap. I think Davis is another lap ahead. Oh, Davis goes off! Poor Davis. He has had, his fair share of bad luck. He couldn't swing it back around. But he's backing onto the racetrack. Hopefully he has a clear view. Ron gets past him now. Davis is having a tough time. He's still sitting there. He can't find a good gap to get going in. That's the problem in this track, is it's so small. You just get these lines of cars. So it looks like he may now finally get back around. Let's check in on a few people that we haven't seen in a little bit. We got Matt Bush. He got kind of torpedoed by Adam earlier in the race, and he's kind of been struggling ever since. He's now 2 laps down. We've had some incidents throughout the race. kind of brought him back there. Rich W, he just had a bad beginning of the race. He kind of never really recovered. He had speed to be in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5, but just never really got there. Another name with Nathan. We haven't seen a lot of Nathan this whole race. Actually, I don't see a lot of Nathan on the track either. Oh, there he is. There he is. So Nathan just kind of sticking it out in 15th. And ahead of him, we have Taylor just kind of doing the same thing, just sticking it out, trying to survive. Maybe had a few mistakes. Nothing too crazy. We got Matt Watts back here. We touched on him a little earlier. We have Adam kind of coming around that corner already with Josh Campbell right behind him. It looks like Josh is lapping Adam, so that is not a battle for position. Adam's got some damage to him. Ooh, Ben, no! Ben goes for a ride. And not an ideal place. It looks like he got a little loose under braking. That rear tire wear was just a little too much for him. Let's see if we can't follow on board with him as he goes for a ride. Just kind of got loose there. I think he may have clipped the grass just a little bit on exit. Unfortunate. Unfortunate for Ben. As he got it back going, but it looks like he's farther down in the order because of it. I don't know if Brandon was quite able to capitalize and get a position, but he's definitely a lot closer now than he used to be. Brandon Wilson, that is, to Ben. That was kind of a big gap there. It's kind of no man's land between Ben and Josh Campbell now. Got a pretty wide margin between those two after that mistake by Ben. Looks like Ben's car isn't too damaged, though, so we should be able to keep going and stay in this position. It's pretty lucky that he didn't lose anything in that. So let's check back on the battle up front. It looks like Chris K is maybe just incrementally closer. It's tough to say. At the line, it looks like they're about the same. Still have 3-second margin, somewhere around there. It's just tough to make any headway here. You pretty much need some incidents in front to be able to make some solid headway. We only have 2 laps to go for these leaders. Chris has some pretty heavy traffic here. Let's see if the traffic gets out of the way or if... Because it is Jason. Jason's not that far down the order in 9th. He may have some speed anyway. He may not just want to pull over for these guys. It's good to see Tyler in the distance on board here with Chris. Just a little too far out of touch. Same with Andrew here. He's just a little too far out of touch from Henry to really do anything. Kind of lost all of our battles in the top 10. Just nobody's really close to each other here at the end. But we only have 1 lap to go. So we ride with Tyler now. Tyler has Stoner right in front of him. This is your leader, Tyler Daniels. Stoner's in front of Chris. It looks like Chris tried to make a dive move just to try and get by, but he couldn't. Oh, Chris kind of goes to the outside, a little bit of desperation here for a last-ditch effort. Looks like Chris will just bring it home clean in second. Tyler now only has 1 corner left to go. I'm sorry, it says 2 to go at the line. I apologize, that was not the last lap. Looks like I had a little bit of a timing glitch on my end. Oh no, it was the last lap. My apologies. So it looks like Tyler is your winner. Followed by Chris K. Next we have Henry crossing the line. Looks like he'll get a solid top 3. And Andrew right behind him, coming home in 4th. It's a good, solid finish for him. He kept it nice and clean. Ron Morris gets the top 5 out of it. Switching to a new car. He was in the Ford last year, and it didn't end up so well for him. Looks like this time it's gone a little bit better. So we got Josh Campbell crossing the line. He finished 6th. Ben crossing the line in 7th. He didn't lose anything after spinning earlier, which is good for him. Brandon hard charging from the back. It looks like he'll come home 8th. And then Jason coming home 9th, who's already a lap down, and Matt Bruce recovering all the way to get a top 10 after the first lap chaos. Man, so we had quite the race here. I had a little bit of everything, but it got a little bit spread out there at the end. But as it'll end up, it'll be Tyler Daniels as your winner. So we kind of just have the parade of cars coming back. Great race for Tyler Daniels. He kind of just kept it managed the whole time from Chris. It was pretty much that starting up front is mainly what did it for him. If he would have started farther back, maybe behind Chris, it would have been a lot tougher, but it ended up working out. See a little bit of fun here at the end. They take the jump at the very last second. So let's go back to the beginning of the session and just see what happened, just to start this race off. Actually, I don't know if we can catch the start. It looks like my replay is a little busted here. Okay, so let's rewind here and see a little bit of what happened. Let's ride on board with Matt Bruce, because I believe he was one of the guys that had quite a big issue here at the beginning. So let's rewind a little bit. It's tough to say. Matt Bruce isn't even in the frame. Looks like there was some chaos farther back. Yeah, there he is in the middle. He kind of got sandwiched there. As we look from the chopper point of view, got sandwiched by Rich W. It looks like just kind of not enough room for 3 guys there. And Rich kind of paid the price. It looks like everybody paid the price there. It's just unfortunate for them. Stoner comes crashing through at the end. It's bad timing for everybody involved. Matt pretty much had a broken car from the end of that. So that will end our session here, guys. That was the first race of the year. It was pretty chaotic at the beginning, kind of spread out in the middle, and then ended up pretty standard quo at the end. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a bi-weekly series, so it happens every 2 weeks. If you want to see more of this, let us know, and we'll do it again here in the future. So this is me signing out. I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening or day or wherever you are in the world.